if there were like 20 people in the room for Thanksgiving and there's a 15, 20-pound bird and all of the craziness that it goes in Thanksgiving, I would rather be in my own kitchen doing this and having control of the situation and being comfortable in my space than anywhere else, even though it's my mom's house or my sister's house.
Beginning on ODO podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ODO podcast, where normal is not my specialty. I am your host, as always, I don't know what. I make these things up on the fly. Adam Higgins, the ODO. And this is a show where I empty out all of the whatever's going on in my head. I make fun of some weird news, and I tell you about a podcast I think you should check out because I'm totally into it. And this week, I actually have all of them. I have all of the parts this week. I realize it's been a few weeks since I've had a complete, intact show, I guess you could say, where I've done all of the parts that I say that I'm going to do at the start of the show. But all that aside, how you doing? Because, I got to start the show that way because I just have to now, don't I? But anyway, so I guess I should start up. If I just realized in the, today, because this last weekend was a food truck festival. If you follow me on the grams and the books and the whatnot, that this was the monthly food truck festival, and that is on the third Sunday of the month. Well, it's October, so that means that we have a week until Halloween, and it just kind of popped up on me because at this point I don't know what we're doing for Halloween in a very general way. I don't know, because we always do a family sort of costume theme. Rihanna just loves doing that. She just loves doing the Halloween costumes where we're all themed together, where we're all a rock band, or the year that all the boys went out in different jerseys and I was a commentator. I was went out in a sport coat and with a microphone. It's I'm a sportscaster, and did that whole thing. We always have a theme when we do Halloween. She just likes those sort of cheesy things, and I'm not about to take it away from her because it's not worth the fight. But I don't know what we're doing this year. We've had so much going on between my work, regular work, and editing work, and her school stuff, and her classes right now. The class session she just started is kind of a bitch. She's had a lot. She's got just a ton of assignments all stacked together that have to all be due at the same time, and so her workload right now is pretty tough. And Halloween's on a Wednesday. That makes things really tough. And I didn't think about it really until just now. It's oh shit, we've got a week. Next Wednesday is Halloween. I have no clue what we're doing. I know it's, our seasonal cleansing of the house. We'll go through and, full top to bottom house cleaning and all of the stuff. And next week is the Pagan Pride Festival we'll be at. And I'm trying, and I need to get with these guys and see if they have a promo because I want to put it on the show. But the Millennial Pagan podcast is going to be there, and so I want to talk to those guys. And because it's just, hey, podcasters, I'm going to be at an event. And even when Rihanna found out they were going to be there, and they're a local show, I was hey, there's going to be another podcast that's going to be at the festival. We're already going. And she was networking. Her first thought was networking, which was really kind of funny. But yeah, so it's a big event. We're going to be there. That's next week, but we've still got, Halloween itself to deal with. Like, shit. What are we going to do? Timing her, schoolwork and my work and all this stuff, and making sure that, I've got to make sure that all of the work I've got for next week is done on time, because I'm not, it's entirely possible there may not be a show next week. And I mean that very much on the basis of, with all of the stuff going on next week, I may just not have time to do it. I'll try and knock something out this weekend and maybe have it set up, but I cannot guarantee. So I guess forewarning, there may not be a show next week just because too damn busy. It happens. But all that aside, yeah, it's just kind of snuck up on me. And Rihanna pointed out today, she's like, we got 4 more weeks until we have a 5-year-old. I'm like, God, the boys' birthdays just pop up and you're like, shit, Bug's going to be 5. My dad's going to be 68. And birthdays and people and age and stuff and time and that. It all sneaks up on you. The end of the year, it feels like it was just summer. Maybe because it's still 90 degrees around here. But it feels like it was just summer. And now it's the end of October. And, I'm picking mushrooms out of my front yard. And the boys are having to wear sweaters to school. And shit, the year is almost over. And, when Rihanna pointed out, oh, it's 4 more weeks until we have a 5-year-old. And then I was like, oh. And then she sent me a thing on Instagram. It was like, oh my God, that's October's almost over. Yeah, I've only got about 4 or 5 more weeks until Thanksgiving. Because you know how, basically once you get to that point, once you reach Halloween, the entire rest of the year just seems to go into overdrive. Except it's also that overdrive where you're spending lots of money. And it's expensive holiday. Once you get it up to Halloween, it's expensive holiday after expensive holiday, because even if you're making costumes for your kids, which we do, but even if you're making costumes for your kids, it's still an expense every year. And then, you got all the money for costumes, especially when you've got 4 boys, and oh yeah, mom and dad have to dress to match. And then you roll into Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is anywhere from $100 to $200 holiday for us. And we may or may not be going out to my mom's this year, or my sister's. I don't remember. We may or may not be going out of town for Thanksgiving. I'm always dodgy going out of town for Thanksgiving. I guess cooking holidays I get particular about. And as much as I like large family gatherings, I get, even though it's family, my introvert starts creeping in, and it becomes the whole, I want to be in my space. There's a large gathering of food. I'm more comfortable when I'm in my own space. I would rather, if we have 50 people in a room over Thanksgiving, not that we had that many people, but if we had if there were 20 people in the room for Thanksgiving, and there's a 15, 20 pound bird and all of the craziness that it goes in Thanksgiving, I would rather be in my own kitchen doing this and having control of the situation and being comfortable in my space than anywhere else, even though it's my mom's house or my sister's house or my dad's house. I haven't been to my dad's house in Thanksgiving in 10 years. Either way, because he's in Texas. But anyway, my inner introvert, but my general introvert doesn't want to be in other spaces. I am comfortable I've made my nest. I've made my space. I have my safe space here in my home. I'm not comfortable really getting into going into another. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I know I'm weird, but it's all coming up. And then, you roll, like I said, you just roll through. You get from Christmas or from Halloween through Thanksgiving and the whole winter holiday season. And all of the everything. And on top of, and this is the bitch of the holiday season, because on top of all of the food stuff and all of the, mostly the food stuff and the gift stuff, it's also winter on this side of the world. And I say that because I have a decent south of the equator following. But, we're going into wintertime, and we actually have a pretty high electric bill when it comes to heating our home. And so I think it's actually a little more, it's more painful in the wintertime having the high electric bill for heating than it is having a high electric bill in the summer for the air conditioner, because we don't have all this other shit we're paying for too. And on top of that, we also have to pay for, that's when the registration and all that shit on our cars rolls through. It's a bitch. The end of the year sucks. It is just expense after expense after expense. And we're trying to buy a house right now. It's just not a good time. But it's all starting. It's only weeks away. The impending holiday season cash dump is upon us. Save us all. Yeah. But side note, because of my little emotional breakdown right there, I was rolling back to last week. I actually got a call from one of my coworkers Sunday, while we were at the food truck festival. She called me. He was like, "Hey, man, are you okay?" Like, where are you at? I'm at the food truck festival. What the hell, dude? Oh, yeah. Are you okay? Yeah, why? Well, I was listening to your show. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, dude, no, that's just me. And by now he should know, because, dude, you work with me. You've seen me get weird. You've seen me drift in and out of accents and voices and weird shit. So, but it's one of those, mild mental breakdown for a little bit last week. I'm okay. It's okay. I'm okay. Can't prove anything. I mean, you might be able to take that episode to a psychologist or somebody and they'll diagnose me with shit. I don't know. But as far as it appears, I'm okay. I can't prove otherwise, but I'm okay. But yeah, that was just funny. I just had to mention that. It was so funny. It was just fun. I don't know. That may happen more often. I don't know. Because I had so much fun doing the voice stuff, and it was so funny to me. It was just hilarious. It was really bad is I had to take an extra day off of work last week. And so I ended up, I'm behind on my listening again. I'm like, well, fuck, I've gone back, and there's been shows that I've added into my collection to start listening to again, stuff that I kind of was listening to and I had dropped off. And so I'm like way behind. And then other shows like this week's feature that are new that I've been listening to. And so I was like, well, shit, I'm way behind. I haven't even caught up. I haven't listened to my show, which I normally get to by the weekend. And I know it was weird. I outright know it was weird. But it was fun. And sometimes getting to, crack open the vault of my head and let the rest of the voices play. It's just kind of fun to do. And unfortunately is mildly uncontrollable. But everything is self-contained this week. I've got them all under wraps for now, hopefully. But yeah, that's just something that may or may not happen again. I don't know. It really depends on how the whole voice acting thing plays out, isn't it? But all that aside, I'm going to stop here and take a break. And I've got some all new promos this week that all stuff I have not played before. It's a new promo for a show. I don't remember if I played the old one or not. But anyway, coming up, we've got promos for, because I might as well announce it, for Trivia Geeks and Rolling Misadventures, which is actually hosted or co-hosted by Derek from the Sometimes Geek podcast. And then I will be right back with this week's recommended listening feature, 600 Second Saga.
Trivia Geeks, the unpredictable game show podcast, is back with a brand new season. They've got a new host, new games, and a new day and time. But that's not all. Now you can download their companion app, Triv Now, and play along in real time. Watch Carrie on YouTube as she tries to convince her partner that his Dark Knight hasn't risen in years. Listen on Diamond Club and Alpha Geek Radio, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Twitter and get all the latest updates and showtimes.
Are you into stories played out like movie scenes, audio dramas, or real play style podcasts? On Rolling Misadventures, a group of podcasters take time away from their respective shows to sit down and play a game called Fiasco. With a whole lot of improv and a little bit of tabletop banter, we create short stories where everything can and will go wrong. From a sci-fi cloning mishap,
we were making some clones and made an extra. You.
To Victorian-era lovers trying to escape a failing playhouse.
You, sir, are the pelican of my dreams, the pelican of my heart.
Yeah, well, then, Helen, you're the albatross of my loins. And then he vomits.
And even an action-packed 80s heist.
What does he look like? What kind of type does he look like?
He definitely doesn't look like a cop.
There's plenty of variety to check out as we wrap up our stories every month to keep things fresh. Check us out at rollingmisadventures.com or search for us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and your podcatcher of choice.
Recommended listening.
Need an escape? Vanish into the depths of a magic forest. Head out on an interstellar repair mission. Travel back in time to change the future. Explore inside someone or something else. Meet dragons, werewolves, birds, bears, aliens, mermen, and a man with a fishbowl for a head. All in 10 minutes or less every week. Tune in to 600 Second Saga for your weekly science fiction and fantasy escape.
600 Second Saga. The show that tells you in the title exactly how long it's going to be. I don't think you could have a more descriptive name of a show if you tried. But it's awesome. And it's so simple. And like she said right there, the host, Mariah, she reads these stories. And they're submitted, flash fiction. And she reads these stories that are all over the place in sci-fi and horror, very much like The Unseen Hour, but in a much shorter format and without an entire, production behind it. The fact that that's done on a stage and it's more of very short form audiobook. And she has a voice that brings you into the story. And I guess in with this type of show, it's kind of necessary. But either way, it just fits. But the range of the stories they're kind of all over the place. And so you don't necessarily get the same thing every week, which is really cool. It's all tonally, in the same area. Like I said, it's in the sci-fi horror, not necessarily, super blood and guts horror, but maybe a story about, trying to recall. So that's the thing when I do this and I need to recall a detail and then your mind goes blank. Yeah, that's what happens. But one that I listened to recently where there was a police officer investigating a shack, and spoilers, it becomes very much, there's a killer on the loose and he's trying to get into this shack, and there's rain and there's a rusty lock, and as the story goes and the tension builds, and it's like, okay, he gets into the shack and what he's seeing, and wait, it's so dark and he can't tell what is what. And as it progresses, and I'm not going to spoil it too much, but you know, you get to the point where there's dead bodies involved, and it takes so many twists, and you're just sitting there on the edge of your seat as the tension builds, and she's so great at delivering that tension throughout the whole story. It's great. And so absolutely worth checking out. And like I said before, the name of the show is 600 Second Saga. No episode is more than 10 minutes. I have yet to actually listen to one that even made it to 10 minutes. And that's including the credits. So it's very bingeable. It's very easy to go in and listen to these stories and listen to a ton of them at once and just immerse yourself in these stories. And again, the way she delivers them and the way she pulls you in and builds the tension where it needs to be is amazing. And something I strive for as I dig into the prospect of becoming a voice actor and maybe audiobook narrator, because that seems something more attuned to my voice. All that aside, absolutely should check it out. If you, in any possible way, could have any interest in sort of that style, if you like horror or sci-fi or just something a little spooky, just something a little creepy at all, and like that tension and those sort of thrillers, absolutely check out 600 Second Saga. It is amazing. I should have been listening to this for a long time. I remember hearing it recommended by Paul from the Varmints podcast, who has a collection and a playlist that he goes through every week that is far more varied than mine. But again, check it out, the 600 Second Saga at 600secondsaga.com. And that's 600 secondsaga.com. If you have a recommendation for me to check out, hit me up on Facebook or Twitter at Odd Dad Out, or join the Twisted World of the Odd Dad Out Facebook group. You can send me your suggestions there, or just post them up, stuff, whatever you're listening to. I'd love it if you would do that. That'd be an awesome thing. Just new stuff you're listening to, stuff you think other people should check out. I do it here, so I kind of want you to do it there too. Let me see what you're listening to. Let's see what everybody in the group is listening to. But I promised you I have a full show, so that could only mean there's one thing left. It's time for the Jackass of the Week. Apparently, there is a super popular, super fucking expensive food in Spain called anguilas. I'm going to assume that. Anguilas. And everybody agrees it's not very good. Yeah. So apparently, anguilas is Spanish for baby eels. And basically everybody who's eaten these things will say that not only do they not taste good, they just don't really have any taste. They have almost no flavor. They're slimy and they just kind of look like worms. I mean, they're baby eels. They're literally baby eels. But they're fucking expensive. Like 1,000 euros a kilo. So it was $1,150 per kilo, 2 pounds to a kilo. So like $500 a pound, $600 a pound. Doing really bad conversions there. But yeah, $600 a pound for flavorless baby eels. Why the fuck are you eating them then? I don't get this. I don't understand like snobby food. I'm very much, salt of the earth, salt of the plate. I'm, I eat pasta like 3 days of the week. I'm making pot roast tonight. I want, hearty, beefy gravy and things like that. Yes, I will absolutely make plain, salt and water white rice, but I also make it as a complement to something like, oh, my pot roast that I'm making tonight, so that there's something else in there to soak up broth and things like that. Yes, I make pot roast with rice. Bite me. I only say that because Rihanna gives me so much shit every time I do that. But why the hell would you knowingly pay a ridiculous amount of money for a food that you admit doesn't taste like anything and it's just stupid expensive? Even the guys who sell the things don't understand it. Like one guy who owns a restaurant and sells the thing says, I would not pay so much for them. They have no flavor, no color, nothing. They don't even smell. Lettuce has more aroma. And he goes on to say, we had 2 men here who ordered half a kilo, 500 euros at a time. Some people with money just like to spend it. And that kind of seems to be the only reasoning behind eating these things is like a sign of status, saying, yeah, I can throw down 500 euros to eat a plate of flavorless slimy worms because I've got the money to do it and for literally no other real practical reason. I'm sorry, I want my food to have flavor. And they even say one of the most popular ways that they'll prepare them is they'll sit there and fry a bunch of garlic and peppers and chilies and things in oil and then add the eels to that. They'll basically just like super hyper flavor overload this oil so that it gives some flavor to the little friggin' baby eels. From my perspective, I'm like, you guys are eating baby eels. So y'all are kind of probably devastating the eel population in your area. I'm just saying. And apparently that's actually part of why they're so fucking expensive, is because of fishing and they're just becoming more rare. Apparently, way back in the day, they were like, 60s and 70s. They were really common and everybody ate them. And they were poor people food. Kind of like if you know your history in the United States, how way back in the day, lobster was poor people food and only the poor people would eat those sea bugs. Ugh. Sorry, they're still sea bugs to me. Fuck that shit. I don't like lobster. I don't eat any seafood. But all that aside, only poor people ate the sea bugs. And back in the day, only poor people ate the little baby eels. Well, then they started becoming rare. And there were a couple of fancy restaurants that started serving them. And so it was like, oh, well, they serve them in the fancy restaurants, so they must be really fancy. So us rich people are gonna eat them. And we're fancy now because we eat them. I don't know. This is all taking place in Spain. I don't know where the fuck that voice came from. But anyway, all the fancy people are eating all the little baby worms. And so we're fancy now. And then they started becoming harder to find. And I guess there was like weather conditions and things. They were harder to fish for. They were harder to acquire. And that drove the price up. It's still a flavorless piece of fish that you're admitting isn't any good. So why the fuck are you eating it? You're only eating it because it's expensive. That is it. That is literally the only reason these people are eating this thing. What the hell? Why would you do that? You're throwing money away. And I guess maybe in some places people like throwing their money away just to show that they have money to burn. I don't get that. I don't. If I'm going to have money burning a hole in my pocket and spend it on something, I spend it on something practical. I'm going to spend it on gadgets and toys and things for fun, not here's a stupid fucking worm that cost $5 a piece, and I'm going to eat this flavorless thing because it's expensive. That's it. They're doing it because it's expensive. Fucking stupid. Invest your money elsewhere, you fucking morons. God, even Spain has jackasses. But that's gonna do it for me. Wow, ending on worms. That's it for this week. Thank you for putting up with my weirdness over the last few weeks. Remember, you can catch all the past episodes at oddadoutpodcast.com. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all the places. And if you're really digging the show, tell a friend about it. That is the most awesome thing you can do for me and for the show to help things grow while you're there doing all the things. Check out the merch store. Get yourself a t-shirt. Get yourself a mug. Whatever you feel like doing. If you feel like joining Patreon, supporting the show, you're awesome. Sorry, this is the part where I get all awkward with the shilling of stuff and all that. But you're awesome. If you made it this far, you're awesome. Thank you so much for listening again. And you can connect with me again on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at OddDadOut. Email show@oddadoutpodcast.com. And until next week, I am Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. Thank you and good night.